Canto 18. Rama's reply. He ceased, and Rama's heart was stirred at every keen reproach he heard. There Bali lay, a dim dark sun, his course of light and glory run, or like the bed of ocean dried of his broad floods from side to side, or helpless, as the dying fire, hushed his last words of righteous ire. Then Rama, with his spirit moved, the Vanner king in turn reproved. Why dost thou, Bali, thus revile, and castest not a glance the while on claims of duty, love, and gain, and customs o'er the world that reign? Why dost thou blame me, rash and blind, fickle as all thy Vanner kind, slighting each rule of ancient days which all the good and prudent praise? This land, each hill and woody chase, belongs to old Ikshvaku's race. With bird and beast and man, the whole is ours to cherish and control. Now Bharat, prompt at duty's call, wise, just, and true, is lord of all. Each claim of law, love, gain he knows, and wrath and favor duly shows. A king from truth who never bends, and grace with vigor wisely blends, with valor worthy of his race, he knows the claims of time and place. Now we and other kings of might, by his ensample taught aright, the lands of every region tread that justice may increase and spread. While royal Bharat, wise and just, rules the broad earth his glorious trust, who shall attempt, while he is lord, a deed by justice held abhorred? We now, as Bharat has decreed, let justice guide our every deed, and toil each sinner to repress who scorns the way of righteousness. Thou from that path hast turned aside, and virtue's holy law defied, left the fair path which kings should tread, and followed pleasure's voice instead. The man who cleaves to duty's law regards these three with filial awe: the sire, the elder brother, third him from whose lips his lore he heard. Thus too, for duty's sake, the wise regard with fond paternal eyes the well-loved younger brother, one their lore has ripened, and a son. Fine are the laws which guide the good, abstruse, and hardly understood. Only the soul, enthroned within the breast of each, knows right from sin. But thou art wild and weak of soul, and spurnest, like thy race, control. The true and right thou canst not find, the blind consulting with the blind. Incline thine ear, and I will teach the cause that prompts my present speech. This tempest of thy soul assuage, nor blame me in thine idle rage. On this great sin thy thoughts bestow, the sin for which I lay thee low. Thou, Bali, in thy brother's life haste robbed him of his wedded wife, and keepest, scorning ancient right, his Ruma for thine own delight. Thy son's own wife should scarcely be more sacred in thine eyes than she. All duty thou hast scorned, and hence comes punishment for dire offense. For those who blindly do amiss there is, I ween, no way but this: to check the rash who dare to stray from customs which the good obey. I may not, sprung of Kshatriya line, forgive this heinous sin of thine. The laws for those who sin like thee the penalty of death decree. Now Bharat rules with sovereign sway, and we his royal word obey. There was no hope of pardon, none for the vile deed that thou hast done. That wisest monarch dooms to die the wretch whose crimes the law defy, and we, chastising those who err, his righteous doom administer. My soul accounts Sugrava dear Anne, as my brother L a KSHM, a letter 1E47 here. He brings me blessing, and I swore his wife and kingdom to restore, a bond in solemn honor bound when Vanner chieftains stood around. And can a king like me forsake his friend, and plighted promise break? Reflect, O Vanner, on the cause, the sanction of eternal laws, and, justly smitten down, confess thou deest for thy wickedness. By honor was I bound to lend assistance to a faithful friend, and thou hast met a righteous fate, thy former sins to expiate. And thus wilt thou some merit win, and make atonement for thy sin. For hear me, Vanner king, rehearse what Manu, 597, spake in ancient verse. This holy law, which all accept who honor duty, have I kept. Pure grow the sinner's kings chastise, and like the virtuous gain the skies, by pain or full atonement freed, they reap the fruit of righteous deed, while kings who punish not incur the penalties of those who err. Mandata 598. Once, a noble king, light of the line from which I spring, punished with death a devotee when he had stooped to sin like thee, and many a king in ancient time has punished frantic sinners' crime, and when their impious blood was spilt, has washed away the stain of guilt. Cease, Bali, cease, no more complain, reproaches and laments are vain, for thou art justly punished. we obey our king and are not free. Once more, O Bali, lend thine ear another weightiest plea to hear. For this, when heard and pondered well, will all complaint and rage dispel. My soul will ne'er this deed repent, nor was my shaft in anger sent. We take the sylvan tribes beset with snare and trap and gin and net, and many a heedless deer we smite from thickest shade, concealed from sight. Wild for the slaughter of the game, at stately stags our shafts we aim. We strike them bounding scared away, we strike them as they stand at bay, when careless in the shade they lie, or scan the plain with watchful eye. They turn away their heads, we aim, and none the eager hunter blame. Each royal saint, well trained in law of duty, loves his bow to draw and strike the quarry, e'en as thou hast fallen by mine arrow now, fighting with him or unaware. A vanner thou, I little care. 599, but yet, O best of vanners, know that kings who rule the earth bestow fruit of pure life and virtuous deed, and lofty duties hard-won meed. Harm not thy lord the king. Abstain from act and word that cause him pain, for kings are children of the skies who walk this earth in men's disguise. But thou, in duty's claims untaught, thy breast with blinding passion fraught, assailest me who still have clung to duty, with thy bitter tongue. He ceased, and Bali sore distressed the sovereign claims of law confessed, and freed, o'erwhelmed with woe and shame, the lord of Raghu's race from blame. Then, reverent palm to palm applied, to Rama thus the vanner cried. True, best of men, is every word that from thy lips these ears have heard. It ill beseems a wretch like me to bandy empty words with thee. Forgive the angry taunts that broke from my wild bosom as I spoke. And lay not to my charge, O king, my mad reproaches' idle sting. Thou in the truth by trial trained, best knowledge of the right hast gained, and layest, just and pure within, the meetest penalty on sin. Through every bond of law I burst, the boldest sinner and the worst. O let thy right instructing speech console my heart, and wisely teach. Like some sad elephant who stands fast sinking in the treacherous sands, thus Bali raised despairing eyes, then spake again with sobs and sighs. Not for myself, O king, I grieve for Tara or the friends I leave, as for sweet Angad, my dear son, my noble, only little one. For, nursed in luxury and bliss, his father he will mourn and miss, and like a stream whose fount is dry will waste away and sink and die. My own dear child, my only boy, his mother Tara's hope and joy. Spare him, O son of Raghu, spare the child entrusted to thy care. My Angad and Sugriva treat An as thy heart considers meet, for thou, O chief of men, art strong to guard the right and punish wrong. Oh, if thou wilt thine ear incline to hear these dying words of mine, he and Sugriva will to thee as Burrit, and as LAKSHM, a letter 1E47B. Let not my Tara, left forlorn, weep for Sugriva's wrathful scorn, nor let him, for her lord's offense, condemn her faithful innocence. And well and wisely may he reign if thy dear grace his power sustain, if, following thee his friend and guide, he turn not from thy hest aside, thus may he reign with glory, nay thus to the skies will win his way. Though stayed by Tara's fond recall, by thy dear hand I long to fall. Against my brother rushed and fought, and gained the death I long have sought. Then Rama thus the prince consoled, from whose clear eyes the mists were rolled. Grieve not for those thou leavest thus, nor tremble for thyself or us, for we will deal with thine and thee as duty and the laws decree. He who exacts and he who pays, is justly slain or justly slays, shall in the life to come have bliss, for each has done his task in this. Thou, wandering from the right, art made pure by the forfeit thou hast paid. Thy weight of sins is cast aside, and duty's claim is satisfied. Then grieve no more, O prince, but clear thy bosom from all doubt and fear, for fate, inexorably stern, thou hast no power to move or turn. Thy princely Angad still will share my tender love, Sugriva's care, and to thy offspring shall be shown affection that shall match thine own. Canto 19. Tara's grief. No answer gave the Vanner king to Rama's prudent counseling. Battered and bruised by tree and stone, by Rama's arrow overthrown, fainting upon the ground he lay, gasping his troubled life away. But Tara in the Vanner's hall heard tidings of her husband's fall, heard that a shaft from Rama's bow had laid the royal Bali low. Her darling Angad by her side, distracted from her home she hied. Then nigh the place of battle drew the Vanners, Angad's retinue. They saw the bow-armed Rama. Dread fell on them, and they turned and fled. Like helpless deer, their leaders slain, so wildly fled the startled train. But Tara saw and nearer pressed, and thus the flying band addressed. O Vanners, ye who ever stand about our king, a trusty band, where is the lion master? Why forsake ye thus your lord and fly? Say, lies he dead upon the plain, a brother by a brother slain, or pierced by shafts from Rama's bow that rain from far upon the foe? Thus Tara questioned and was still. Then, wearers of each shape at will, the Vanners thus with one accord answered the lady of their lord. Turn, Tara, turn, and half undone save Angad thy beloved son. Their Rama stands in death's disguise, and conquered Bali faints and dies. He by whose strong arm, thick and fast, uprooted trees and rocks were cast, lies smitten by a shaft that came resistless as the lightning flame. When he, whose splendor once could vie with Indra's, regent of the sky fell by that deadly arrow, all the Vanners fled who marked his fall. Let all our chiefs their succors bring, and Angad be anointed king, for all who come of Vanner race will serve him set in Bali's place. Or else our conquering foes today within our wall will force their way, polluting with their hostile feet the chambers of thy loved retreat. Great fear is on us, all in one. Those who have wives and who have none, they lust for power, are fierce and bold, or hate us for the strife of old. She heard their speech as, sore afraid, arrested in their flight they stayed, and gave her answer as became the spirit of so true a dame. Nay, what have I to do with pelf, with son, with kingdom, or with self, when he, my noble lord, who leads the Vanners like a lion, bleeds? His high-souled victor will I meet, and throw me prostrate at his feet. She hastened forth, her bosom rent with anguish, weeping as she went, and striking, mastered by her woes, her head and breast with frantic blows. She hurried to the field and found her husband prostrate on the ground, who quelled the hostile Vanners' might, whose bank was never turned in flight, whose arm a massy rock could throw as Indra hurls his bolts below, fierce as the rushing tempest, loud as thunder from a laboring cloud. Whene'er he roared his voice of fear struck terror on the boldest ear, now slain, as, hungry for the prey a tiger might a lion slay. Or when, his serpent foe to seek, SUP letter 1E47 600, with his furious beak tears up a sacred hillock, long the reverence of a village throng, its altar with their offerings spread, and the gay flag that waved o'erhead. She looked and saw the victor stand resting upon his bow his hand, and fierce Sugriva she disgrayed, and LAKSHM a letter 1E47 by his brother's side. She passed them by, nor stayed to view, swift to her husband's side she flew. Then as she looked, her strength gave way, and in the dust she fell and lay. Then, as if startled ere the close of slumber, from the earth she rose. Upon her dying husband, round whose soul the coils of death were wound, her eyes in agony she bent, and called him with a shrill lament. Sugriva, when he heard her cries, and saw the queen with weeping eyes, and youthful Angad standing there, his load of grief could hardly bear. Canto 20. Tara's lament. Again she bent her to the ground, her arms about her husband wound. Sobbed on his breast, and sick and faint with anguish poured her wild complaint. Brave in the charge of battle, boast and glory of the Vanner host, why on the cold earth wilt thou lie, and give no answer when I cry? Up, warrior, from thy lowly bed. A meeter couch for thee is spread. It ill beseems a glorious king on the bare ground his limbs to fling. Ah, surely must thy love be strong for her, whom thou hast governed long, if thou, my hero, canst recline on her cold breast forsaking mine. Or, famed for justice through the land, thou on the road to heaven hast planned some city fairer, far than this, to be thy new metropolis. Are all our pleasures ended now, with those delicious hours which thou and I, dear Lord, together spent in woods that breath the honey's scent? Whelmed in my sorrow's boundless sea, there is no joy, no hope for me. When my beloved lord, who led the Vanners to the fight, is dead, my widowed heart is stern and cold. Or, at the sight mine eyes behold, o'ermastered would it end this ache, and in 1,000 fragments break. Ah, noble Vanner, doomed to pay the penalty of all today, Sugriva from his home expelled, and Ruma, 601 from his arms withheld. Our Vanner race and thee to save, wise counsel for thy weal I gave. But thou, by wildest folly stirred, wouldst give no credence to my word, and now wilt woo the nymphs above, and shake their souls with pangs of love. Ah, never could it be that thou beneath Sugriva's power shouldst bow. Thy conqueror is none but fate, whose mandates all who breathe await. And does no thrill of anguish run through the stern breast of Raghu's son, whose base hand dealt a coward's blow, and smote thee fighting with thy foe? Reft of my lord my days, alas! In bitter, bitter woe will pass, and I, long blessed with every good, must bear my dreary widowhood. And when his uncle's brow is stern, when his fierce eyes with fury burn, ah, what will be my Anged's fate, so fair and young and delicate? Come, darling, for the last sad sight of thy dear sire who loved the right, for soon thine eyes will long in vain a look at that loved face to gain. And hero, as thy child draws near, with tender words his spirit cheer, thy dying wishes gently speak, and kiss him on the brows and cheek. High fame, I ween, has Rama won by this great deed his hand has done. His debt to brave Sugriva paid, and kept the promise that he made. Be happy, King Sugriva, Lord of Rama, to thine arms restored. Enjoy uninterrupted reign, for he, thy foe, at length is slain. Dost thou not hear me speak, and why haste thou no word of soft reply? Will thou not lift thine eyes, and see these dames who look to none but thee? From their sad eyes, as Tara spoke, the floods of bitter sorrow broke. Then, pressing close to Anged's side, each lifted up her voice and cried, How couldst thou leave thine Anged thus, and go, forever go from us, thy child so dear in brave attire, graced with the virtues of his sire? If e'er in want of thought, O chief, one deed of mine have caused thee grief, forgive my folly, I entreat, and with my head I touch thy feet. Again the hapless Tara wept as to her husband's side she crept, and wild with sorrow and dismay, sat on the ground where Bali lay. Canto 21. Hanuman's speech. There, like a fallen star, the dame fell by her lord's half-lifeless frame, and Hanuman drew softly near, and strove her grieving heart to cheer. By changeless law our bliss, and woe from ancient worth and folly flow. What fruit sower we cull, the seeds were scattered by our former deeds. 602. Why mourn another's mournful fate, and weep thyself unfortunate? Be calm, O thou whose heart is wise, for none deserves another's sighs. Look up with idle sorrow strive, thy child, his heir, is yet alive. Let needful rites be duly done, nor in thy woe forget thy son. Regard the law which all obey, they spring to life, they pass away. Begin the task that bids thee rise, and stay these tears, for thou art wise. Our lord the king is doomed to die, on whom 10,000,000 hearts rely. Kind, liberal, patient, true, and just was he in whom they placed their trust. And now he seeks the land of those who for the right subdue their foes. Each vanner lord with all his train, each ranger of this wild domain. And Anged here, thy darling, see a governor and friend in thee. These twain, 603, whose hearts with sorrow ache the funeral rites shall undertake, and Anged by his mother's care be king, his father's rightful heir. Now let him pay, as laws require, his sacred duty to his sire, nor one solemnity omit of all that mighty kings befit. And when thy fond eye sees thine own dear Anged on his father's throne, then, lightened of its load of pain, thy spirit will have rest again. She heard his speech, she heaved her head, looked upon Hanuman and said, Sweeter my slain lord's limbs to touch, than Anged or 100 such. No rule or right, a widowed dame, or Anged or the realm I claim. Sugriva is the uncle, he in every act supreme must be. I pray thee, chief, this plan resign, nor claim from me what ne'er is mine. The father with his tender care guards the dear child the mother bare. Where'er I be, no sweeter task, no happier joy I hope or ask than thus to sit with loving eyes and watch the bed where Bali lies. Canto 22. Bali dead. There breathing still with slow faint sighs lay Bali on the ground. His eyes, damp with the tears of death, he raised, on conquering Sugriva gazed, and then in clearest speech expressed the tender feelings of his breast. Not to my charge, Sugriva, lay thine injuries avenged today, but rather blame resistless fate that urged me on infuriate. Fate ne'er agreed our lives to bless with simultaneous happiness, to dwell like brothers side by side in tender, love was still denied. The Vanner's realm is thine today. Begin, O king, thy rightful sway. 604, for I must go at Yama's call to sojourn in his gloomy hall, must part and leave this very hour my life, my realm, my kingly power, and go instead of these to gain bright glory free from spot and stain. Now at thy hands one boon I seek with the last words my lips shall speak, and though it be no easy thing, perform the task I give thee, king. This son of mine, no foolish boy, worthy of bliss and nursed in joy, see, prostrate on the ground he lies, the hot tears welling from his eyes. The child I love so well, more sweet than life itself for woe unmeet, to him be kindly favor shown. O guard and keep him as thine own. Retain him ever by thy side, his father, helper, friend, and guide. From fear and woe his young life save, and give him all his father gave. Then Tara's son in time shall be brave, resolute, and famed like thee, and march before thee to the fight where stricken fiends shall own his might. While yet a tender stripling, fame shall bruit abroad his warrior name, and brightly shall his glory shine for exploits worthy of his line. Child of Sush E letter 1E47. 605, my Tara well obscurest lore can read and tell, and, trained in wondrous art, divines each mystery of boding signs. Her solemn warning ne'er despise, do boldly what her lips advise, for things to come her eye can see, and with her words events agree. And for the son of Raghu's sake the toil and danger undertake, for breach of faith were grievous wrong, nor wouldst thou be unpunished long. Now, brother, take this chain of gold, gift of celestial hands of old, or when I die its charm will flee, and all its might be lost with me. The loving speech Sugriva heard, and all his heart with woe was stirred. Remorse and gentle pity stole each thought of triumph from his soul. Thus fades the light when Rahu, 606, mars the glory of the Lord of Stars. 607, all angry thoughts were stayed and stilled, and kindly love his bosom filled. His brother's word the chief obeyed, and took the chain as Bali prayed. On little Angad standing nigh the dying hero fixed his eye, and, ready from this world to part, spoke the fond utterance of his heart. Let time and place thy thoughts employ, in woe be strong, be meek in joy. Accept both pain and pleasure, still obedient to Sugriva's will. Thou hast, my darling, from the first with tender care been softly nursed, but harder days, if thou wouldst win Sugriva's love, must now begin. To those who hate him ne'er incline, nor count his foe a friend of thine. In all thy thoughts his welfare seek, obedient, lowly, faithful, meek. Let no rash suit his bosom pain, nor yet from due requests abstain. 608, each is a grievous fault, between the two is found the happy mean. Then Bali ceased. His eyeballs rolled in stress of anguish, uncontrolled his massive teeth were bared to view, and from the frame the spirit flew. Their lord and leader dead, the crowd of noblest vanners shrieked aloud. Since thou, O king, hast sought the skies all desolate Kishkandha lies. Her woods where vanners loved to rove, are empty now, and hill and grove. From every eye the light is fled, since thou, our mighty lord, art dead. Thine was the unwearied arm that bore the brunt of deadly fight of yore with Galab the Gandharva, when, lasting through 5 long years and 10, the dreadful conflict knew no stay in gloom of night, in glare of day. And when the 15th year had passed, thy dire opponent fell at last. If such a foeman fell beneath our hero's arm and awful teeth who freed us from our terror, how is conquering Bali fallen now? Then, when they saw their leader slain, great anguish seized the vanner train, weeping their mighty chief. As when in pastures near a lion's den the cows by sudden fear are stirred, slain the bold bull who led the herd. And hapless Tara sank below the whelming waters of her woe, looked upon Bali's face, and fell beside him whom she loved go well, like a young creeper clinging round a tall tree prostrate on the ground. Canto 23. Tara's lament. She kissed her lifeless husband's face. She clasped him in a close embrace, laid her soft lips upon his head, then words like these the mourner said. No words of mine wouldst thou regard, and now thy bed is cold and hard. Upon the rude rough ground o'erthrown, beneath thee naught but sand and stone. To thee the earth is dearer far than I and my caresses are if thou upon her breast wilt lie, and to my words make no reply. Ah, my beloved, good and brave, bold to attack and strong to save, fate is Sugriva's thrall, and we in him our Lord and Master see. Lo, by thy bed, a mournful band, thy vanner chiefs lamenting stand. O hear thy nobles' groans and cries, O mark thy Anged's weeping eyes. O list to my entreaties, break the chains of slumber and awake. Ah me, my lord, this lowly bed where rest thy limbs and fallen head, is the cold couch where smitten lay thy foemen in the bloody fray. O noble heart from blemish free, lover of war, beloved by me. Why hast thou fled away, and left thy Tara of all hope bereft? Unwise the father who allows his child to be a warrior's spouse, for hero, see thy consort's fate. A widow now most desolate, for ever broken is my pride, my hope of lasting bliss has died, and sinking in the lowest deep of sorrows see I pine and weep. Ah, surely not of earthly mold, this stony heart is stern and cold, or in 100 pieces rent, it had not lingered to lament. Dead's dead. My husband, friend, and lord in whom my loving hopes were stored first in the field, his foeman's dread, my own victorious Bali, dead. A woman when her lord has died, though children flourish by her side, though stores of gold her coffers fill, is called a lonely widow still. Alas, thy bleeding gashes make around thy limbs a purple lake. Thus slumbering, was thy wont to lie on cushions bright with crimson dye. Dark streams of welling blood besmear thy limbs where dust and mire adhere, nor have I strength, weighed down by woe, mine arms about thy form to throw. The issue of this day has brought Sugriva all his wishes sought, for Rama shot one shaft, and he is freed from fear and jeopardy. Alas, alas, I may not rest my head upon thy wounded breast, obstructed by the massive dart deep buried in thy bleeding heart. Then Nila from his bosom drew the fatal shaft that pierced him through, like some tremendous serpent deep in caverns of a hill asleep. As from the hero's wound it came, shot from the shaft a gleam of flame, like the last flashes of the sun descending when his course is run. From the wide rent in crimson flood rushed the full stream of Bali's blood, like torrents down a mountain side with golden ore and copper dyed. Then Tara brushed with tender care the dust of battle from his hair, while her sad eyes poured down their rain upon her lord untimely slain. Once more she looked upon the dead, then to her bright-eyed child she said, Turn hither, turn thy weeping eyes where low in death thy father lies. By sinful deed and bitter hate, our Lord has met his mournful fate. Bright as the sun at early morn to Yama's halls is Bali born. Then go, my child, salute the king from whom our bliss and honor spring. Obedient to his mother's hest his father's feet, he gently pressed with twining arms and lingering hands. Father, he cried, here Anged stands. Then Tara, art thou stern and mute, regardless of thy child's salute? Hast thou no blessing for thy son, no word for little Anged, none? O hero, at thy lifeless feet here with my boy I take my seat, as some sad mother of the herd, by the fierce lion undeterred, lies moaning by the grassy dell wherein her lord and leader fell. How, having wrought that awful rite, the sacrifice of deadly fight, wherein the shaft by Rama sped supplied the place of watershed, how hast thou bathed thee at the end without thy wife her aid to lend? 609. Why do mine eyes no more behold thy bright beloved chain of gold, which, pleased with thee, the immortals, king about thy neck vouchsafe to fling? Still lingering on thy lifeless face, I see the pride of royal race. Thus when the sun has set, his glow still rests upon the Lord of Snow. Alas, my hero! Undeterred thou wouldst not listen to my word. With tears and prayers I sued in vain, thou wouldst not listen, and art slain. Gone is my bliss, my glory, and Anged now with thee will die. Canto 24. Sugriva's Lament. But when Sugriva saw her weep o'erwhelmed in sorrows rushing deep, swift through his bosom pierced the sting of anguish for the fallen king. At the sad sight his eyes beheld a flood of bitter tears outwelled, and with his bosom racked and rent, to Rama with his train he went. He came with faltering steps and slow where Rama held his mighty bow and arrow like a venomed snake, and to the son of Raghu spake, Well hast thou kept, O king, thy vow, the promised fruit is gathered now. But life is marred, my soul today turns sickening from all joy away. For, while this queen laments and sighs amid a mourning people's cries, and Anged weeps his father slain, how can my heart delight to reign? For outrage, fury, senseless pride, my brother, doomed of yore, has died. Yet Raghu's son, In bitter woe I mourn his fated overthrow. Ah, better far in pain and ill to dwell on Rishyamukha, still than gain the heaven of gods and all its pleasures by my brother's fall. Did not he cry, great-hearted foe, go, for I will not slay thee, go? With his brave soul those words agree. My speech, my deeds, are worthy me. How can a brother counterweigh his grievous loss with joys of sway, and see with dull unpitying eye so brave and good a brother die? His lofty soul was nobly blind, my death, alas, he ne'er designed. But I, urged blindly on by hate, sought with his life my rage to sate. He smote me with a splintered tree, I groaned aloud and turned to flee, from stern reproaches he forbore, and gently bade me sin no more. Serene and dutiful and good, he kept the laws of brotherhood. I, fierce and greedy, vengeful, base, showed all the vices of our race. Ah me, dear friend, my brother's fate lays on my soul a crushing weight, a sin no heart should e'er conceive, but at the thought each soul should grieve, sin such as Indra's when his blow laid heavenly Visvarupa, 610 low. Yet earth, the waters of the seas, the race of women and the trees were fain upon themselves to take the weight of sin for Indra's sake. But who a Vanner's soul will free, or ease the load that crushes me? Wretch that I am, I may not claim the reverence due to royal name. How shall I reign supreme, or dare affect the power I should not share? Ah me, I sorrow for my sin, the ruin of my race and kin, polluted by a hideous crime world-hated till the end of time. Alas, the floods of sorrow roll with whelming force upon my soul, so gathers the descending rain in the deep hollow of the plain. Canto 25. Rama's speech. Then Raghu's son, whose feeling breast shared the great woe that moved the rest, strove with wise charm their grief to ease, and gently spoke in words like these. You ne'er can raise the dead to bliss by agony of grief like this. Cease your lament, nor leave undone the funeral task you may not shun. As nature orders o'er the dead, your tributary tears are shed, but fate, directing each event, is still the Lord preeminent. Yes, all obey the changeless laws of fate, the universal cause. By fate the lives of all proceed, that governs every word and deed, none acts, none sees his hest obeyed, but each and all by fate are swayed. The world its ordered course maintains, and o'er that course fate ever reigns. Fate ne'er exceeds the rule of fate, is ne'er too swift, is ne'er too late, and making nature its ally forgets no life, nor passes by. No kith and kin, no power and force can check or stay its settled course, no friend or client, grace or charm, that victor of the world disarm. So all who see with prudent eyes, the hand of fate must recognize, for virtue rules, or love, or gain, as fate's unchanged decrees ordain. Bali has died and won the meed that waits in heaven on noble deed. Throned in the seats the brave may reach by liberal hand and gentle speech true to a warrior's duty. Bold in fight, the hero lofty-souled deigned not to guard his life. He died, and now in heaven is glorified. Then cease these tears and wild despair. Turn to the task that claims your care, for Bali's is the glorious fate which warriors count most fortunate. When Rama's speech had found a close, brave Lakshman, a letter 1E47, terror of his foes, with wise and soothing words addressed Sugriva still with woe oppressed. Arise, Sugriva, thus he said, perform the service of the dead. Prepare with Tara and her son, that Bali's rites be duly done. A store of funeral wood, provide which wind and sun and time have dried and richest sandal fit to grace the pyre of one of royal race. With words of comfort soft and kind console poor Anged's troubled mind, nor let thy heart be thus cast down, for thine is now the Vanner's town. Let Anged's care a wreath supply, and raiment rich with varied dye, and oil and perfumes for the fire, and all the solemn rites require. Go, hasten to the town, O king, and Tara's little quickly bring. A virtue is dispatch, and speed is best of all in hour of need. Go, let a chosen band prepare the litter of the dead to bear. For stout and tall and strong of limb must be the chiefs who carry him. He spoke, his friends' delight and pride, then stood again by Rama's side. When Tara, 611, heard the words he said within the town, he quickly sped, and brought, on stalwart shoulders laid, the litter for the rites arrayed, framed like a car for gods, complete with painted sides and royal seat, with latticed windows deftly made, and golden birds and trees inlaid, well joined and wrought in every part, a marvel of ingenious art. Where pleasure mounds in carven wood, and many a graven figure stood. The best of jewels o'er it hung, and wreaths of flowers around it clung, and over all was raised on high a canopy of saffron dye, while, like the sun of morning, shone the brilliant blooms that lay thereon. That glorious litter Rama eyed, and spake to Lakshman, a letter 1E47 by his side. Let Bali on the bier be placed, and with all funeral service graced. Sugriva then with many a tear drew Bali's body to the bier whereon, with weeping Angad's aid, the relics of the chief were laid 'neath many a vesture's varied fold, and wreaths and ornaments and gold. Then King Sugriva bade them speed the obsequies by law decreed. Let vanners lead the way, and throw rich gems around them as they go, and be the chosen bearers near behind them laden with the bier. No costly right may you deny, used when the proudest monarchs die, as for a king of widest sway. Perform his obsequies today. Sugriva gave his high behest, then princely Tara and the rest, with little Angad weeping, led the long procession of the dead. Behind the funeral litter came, with Tara first, each widowed dame. In tears and shrieks her loss deplored, Ad cried aloud, "My lord! My lord!" While wood and hill and valley sent in echoes back the shrill lament. Then on a low and sandy isle was reared the hero's funeral pile by crowds of toiling vanners, where the mountain stream ran fresh and fair. The vanner chiefs, a noble band, had laid the litter on the sand, and stood a little space apart each morning in his inmost heart. But Tara, when her weeping eye saw Bali on the litter lie, laid his dear head upon her lap, and wailed aloud her dire mishap. O mighty vanner, lord and king, to whose fond breast I love to cling, of goodly arms, wise, brave, and bold, rise, look upon me as of old. Rise up, my sovereign, dost thou see a crowd of subjects weep for thee? Still o'er thy face, though breath has fled, the joyous light of life is spread. Thus around the sun, although he set, a crimson glory lingers yet. Death-clad in Rama's form today haste, dragged thee from the world away. One shaft from his tremendous bow dooms us to widowhood and woe. Hast thou, O Vanner King, no eyes thy weeping wives to recognize, who for the length of way unmeet have followed thee with weary feet? Yet every moon-faced beauty here by thee, O King, was counted dear. Lord of the Vanner race, hast thou no eyes to see Sugriva now? About thee stands in mournful mood a sore-afflicted multitude, and Tara and thy lords of state around their monarch weep and wait. Arise, my lord, with gentle speech, as was thy wont, dismissing each, then in the forest will we play, and love shall make our spirits gay. The Vanner dames raised Tara, drowned in floods of sorrow, from the ground, and Angad with Sugriva's aid, o'erwhelmed with anguish and dismayed, weeping for his departed sire, placed Bali's body on the pyre. Then lit the flame, and round the dead passed slowly with a mourner's tread. Thus with full rites the funeral train performed the service for the slain, then sought the flowing stream, and made libations to the parted shade. There, setting Angad first in place, the chieftains of the Vanner race, with Tara and Sugriva, shed the water that delights the dead. Canto 26. The Coronation. Each Vanner councillor and peer in crowded numbers gathered near Sugriva, mournful king, while yet his vesture from the wave was wet. Before the chief of Raghu's seed, unwearied in each arduous deed, they stood and raised the reverent hand, as saints before Lord Brahma stand. Then Hanuman of massive mold, like some tall hill of glistering gold, son of the god whose wild blasts shake the forest, thus to Rama spake. By thy kind favor, O my lord, Sugriva, to his home restored triumphant, has regained today his rank and power and royal sway. He now will call each faithful friend, enter the city, and attend with sage advice and prudent care to every task that waits him there. Then balm and unguent shall anoint our monarch, as the laws appoint, and gems and precious wreaths shall be his grateful offering, king, to thee. Do thou, O Rama, with thy friend thy steps within the city bend, our ruler on his throne install, and with thy presence cheer us all. Then, skilled in lore and arts that guide the speaker, Raghu's son replied, For 14 years I might not break the mandate that my father spake, nor can I, till that time be fled, the street of town or village tread. Let King Sugriva seek the town most worthy of her high renown. There let him be without delay anointed, and begin his sway. This answered, to Sugriva then thus spake anew the king of men. Do thou who knowest right ordain Prince Anged consort of thy reign, for he is noble, true, and bold, and trained a righteous course to hold gifts like his sire. That youth adorn born eldest to the eldest born. This is the month of execute Rav, a letter 147, 612, first of those that see the rain clouds burst. 4 months, thou knowest well, extends the season when the rain descends. No time for deeds of war is this. Seek thou thy fair metropolis, and I with Lakshm a letter 147, O my friend, the time upon this hill will spend. An ample cavern opens there made lovely by the mountain air, and lotuses and lilies fill the pleasant lake and murmuring rill. When Kardix 613 month shall clear the skies, then tempt the mighty enterprise. Now, chieftain, to thy home repair, and be anointed sovereign there. Sugriva heard, he bowed his head. Within the lovely town he sped which Bali's royal will had swayed, where 1,000 Vanner chiefs arrayed gathered in order round their king, and led him on with welcoming. Low on the earth, the lesser crowd fell in prostration as they bowed. Sugriva looked with grateful eyes, spake to them all and bade them rise. Then through the royal bowers he strode wherein the monarch's wives abode. Soon from the inner chambers came the Vanner of exalted fame, and joyful friends drew near and shed king-making balm upon his head, like gods anointing in the skies their sovereign of the 1,000 eyes. 614, then brought they, o'er their king to hold the white umbrella decked with gold, and choueries with their waving hair and golden handles wondrous fair, and fragrant herbs and seed and spice, and sparkling gems exceeding price, and every bloom from woods and leas, and gum distilled from milky trees. And precious ointment white as milk, and spotless robes of cloth and silk, wreaths of sweet flowers whose glories gleam in grassy grove, on lake or stream. And fragrant sandal and each scent that makes the soft breeze redolent, grain, honey, odorous seed, and store of oil and curd and golden ore, a noble tiger's skin, a pair of sandals wrought with costliest care, 8 pairs of damsels drawing nigh brought unguents stained with varied dye. Then gems and cates and robes displayed before the twice-born priests were laid, that they would deign an order due to consecrate the king anew. The sacred grass was duly spread, and sacrificial flame was fed, which scripture-learned priests supplied with oil which text had sanctified. Then with all rites ordained of old, high on the terrace bright with gold, whereon a glorious carpet lay, and fresh-culled garlands sweet and gay, placed on his throne, Sugriva bent his looks toward the orient. In horns from forehead of the bull, in pitchers bright and beautiful, in urns of gold, the Vanara took pure water brought from stream and brook, from every consecrated strand and every sea that beats the land. Then, as prescribed by sacred lore and many a mighty sage of yore, 615, the leaders of the Vanners poured the sacred water on their lord. 616, from every Vanner at the close of that imperial rite arose shouts of glad triumph, loud and long repeated by the high-souled throng. Sugriva, when the rite was done, obeyed the hest of Raghu's son, Prince Anged to his breast he strained, and partner of his sway ordained. Once more from all the host rang out the loud huzzah and jawful shout. Well done! Well done, each Vanner cried, and good Sugriva glorified. Then with glad voices loudly raised were Rama and his brother praised, and bright Kishkindha shone that day with happy throngs and banners gay. Canto 27. Rama on the hill. But when the solemn rite was o'er, and bold Sugriva reigned once more, the sons of Raghu sought the hill, a execute a letter 147 of the rushing rill, where roamed the tiger and the deer. And lions raised their voice of fear thick set with trees of every kind, with trailing shrubs and plants entwined, home of the ape and monkey, lair of mountain cat and pard and bear. In cloudy gloom against the sky, the sanctifying hills rose high. Pierced in their crest, a spacious cave to Raghu's sons a shelter gave. Then Rama, pure from every crime, in words well suited to the time to Lakshm, a letter 147 spake, whose faithful zeal watched humbly for his brother's weal. I love this spacious cavern, where there breathes a fresh and pleasant air. Brave brother, let us here remain throughout the season of the rain. For in mine eyes this mountain crest is above all, the loveliest. Where copper-hued and black and white show the huge blocks that face the height, where gleams the shine of varied ore, where dark clouds hang and torrents roar, where waving woods are fair to see, and creepers climb from tree to tree, where the gay peacock's voice is shrill, and sweet birds carol on the hill, where odorous breath is wafted far from jessamine and sinjavar. 617, and opening flowers of every hue give wondrous beauty to the view. See, too, this pleasant water near our cavern home is fresh and clear, and lilies gay with flower and bud are glorious on the lovely flood. This cave that fares north and east will shelter us till rain has ceased, and towering hills that rise behind will screen us from the furious wind. Close by the cavern's portal lies, and level stone of ample size and sable hue, a mighty block long severed from the parent rock. Now let thine eye bent northward rest a while upon that mountain crest, high as a cloud that brings the rain, and dark as iron rent in twain. Look southward, brother, now in view a cloudy pile of paler hue like Mount Kailas's topmost height where ores of every tint are bright. See, Lakshman, see before our cave that clear brook eastward roll its wave, as though 'twere Ganga's infant rill down streaming from the three-peaked hill. See by the water's gentle flow Asoka, sal and sandal grow. And every lovely tree most fair with leaf and bud and flower is there. See there, beneath the bending trees that fringe her bank, the river flees, clothed with their beauty like a maid in all her robes and gems arrayed, while from the sedgy banks are heard the soft notes of each amorous bird. Oh, see what lovely islets stud like gems the bosom of the flood, and cereses and wild swans crowd about her till she laughs aloud. See, lotus blooms the brook o'erspread, some tender blue, some dazzling red, and opening lilies white as snow their buds in rich profusion show. There rings the joyous peacock's scream, there stands the curlew by the stream, and holy hermits love to throng where the sweet waters speed along. Ranged on the grassy margin shine gay sandal trees in glittering line, and all the wondrous verdure seems the offspring of creative dreams. O conquering prince, there cannot be a lovelier place than this we see. Here sheltered on the beauteous height our days will pass in calm delight. Nor is Kishkantha's city, gay with grove and garden, far away. Thence will the breeze of evening bring sweet music as the minstrels sing, and, when the vanners dance, will come the sound of tabor and of drum. Again to spouse and realm restored, girt by his friends, the vanner lord great glory has acquired, and how can he be less than happy now? This said, the son of Raghu made his dwelling in that pleasant shade upon the mountain's shelving side that sweetly all his wants supplied. But still, the hero's troubled mind no comfort in his woe could find, yet mourning for his stolen wife dearer to Rama than his life, chief when he saw the Lord of Night rise slowly o'er the eastern height, he tossed upon his leafy bed with eyes by sleep unvisited. Outwelled the tears in ceaseless flow, and every sense was numbed by woe. Each pang that pierced the mourner through smote L.A.K.S.H.M. a letter 1E47's faithful bosom too, who, troubled for his brother's sake, with wisest words the prince bespake. Arise, my brother, and be strong, thy hero heart has mourned too long. Thou knowest well that tears and sighs will mar the mightiest enterprise. Thine was the soul that loved to dare, to serve the gods was still thy care, and ne'er may sorrow's sting subdue a heart so resolute and true. How canst thou hope to slay and fight the giant cruel in his might? Unwearied must the champion be who strives with such a foe as he. Tear out this sorrow by the root, again be bold and resolute. Arise, my brother, and subdue the demon and his wicked crew. Thou canst destroy the earth, her seas, her rooted hills and giant trees unseated by thy furious hand, and shall one fiend thy power withstand. Wait through this season of the rain till sons of autumn dry the plain, then shall thy giant foe, and all his host and realm, before thee fall. I wake thy valor that has slept amid the tears thine eyes have wept, as drops of oil in worship raise the dormant flame to sudden blaze. The son of Raghu heard. He knew his brother's rede was wise and true and, honoring his friendly guide in gentle words, he thus replied. Whate'er a hero firm and bold, devoted, true, and lofty-souled should speak by deep affection led, such are the words which thou hast said. I cast away each pensive thought that brings the noblest plans to naught, and each uninjured power will strain until the purposed end we gain. Thy prudent words will I obey, until the close of rain time stay, when King Sugriva will invite to action and the streams be bright. The hero saved in hour of need repays the debt with friendly deed, but hated by the good are they who take the boon and ne'er repay. Canto 28. The Rains. See, brother, see, thus Rama cried on Malayavat's 618 dark-wooded side. A chain of clouds like lofty hills, the sky with gathering shadow fills. 9 months those clouds have borne the load conceived from sunbeams as they glowed, and, having drunk the seas, give birth, and drop their offspring on the earth. Easy it seems at such a time that flight of cloudy stairs to climb, and from their summit, safely won, hang flowery wreaths about the sun. See how the flash of evening's red fringes the fleecy clouds o'erhead, till all the sky is streaked and lined with bleeding wounds incarnadined. Or the wide firmament above shows like a lover sick with love, and, pale with cloudlets, heaves a sigh in the soft breeze that wanders by. See, by the fervent heat embrowned, how, drenched with recent showers, the ground pours out in floods her gushing tears, like Sítá wild with torturing fears. So softly blows this cloud-born breeze cool through the boughs of camphor trees, that one might hold it in the cup of hollowed hands, and drink it up. See, brother, where that rocky steep, where odorous shrubs in raindrops weep, shows like Sugriva when they shed tne royal balm upon his head. Like students at their task appear these hills whose misty peaks are near. Black deerskin, 619 garments wrought of cloud their forms with fitting mantles shroud, each torrent from the summit poured supplies the place of sacred chord. 620, and winds that in their caverns moan sound like the voice's undertone. 621, from east to west red lightnings flash, and quivering neath the golden lash, the great sky like a generous steed groans inly at each call to speed. Yon lightning, as it flashes through the giant cloud of sable hue recalls, my Vader Sítá pressed mid struggles to the demon's breast. See, on those mountain ridges stand sweet shrubs that bud and bloom expand. The soft rain ends their pangs of grief, and drops its pearls on flower and leaf. But all their raptures stab me through and wake my pining love anew. 622, now through the air no wild bird flies, each lily shuts her weary eyes, and blooms of opening jasmine show the parting sun has ceased to glow. No captain now for conquest burns, but homeward with his host returns, for roads and kings, ambitious dreams have vanished neath descending streams. This is the watery month, 623, wherein the Sammers, 624, sacred chants begin. Ayodhyá, 625, past, now Kozel's lord, 626, the harvest of the spring has stored, 627, and dwells within his palace freed from every care of pressing need. Full is the moon, and fierce and strong impetuous Sarju, 628, roars along as though Ayodhya's crowds ran out to greet their king with echoing shout. In this sweet time of ease and rest no care disturbs Sugriva's breast, the foe that marred his peace o'erthrown, and queen and realm once more his own. Alas, a harder fate is mine, reft both of realm and queen to pine, and like the bank which floods a road, I sink beneath my sorrow's load. Sore on my soul my miseries weigh, and these long rains our action stay, while Raven seems a mightier foe than I dare hope to overthrow. I saw the roads were barred by rain, I knew the hopes of war were vain, nor could I bid Sugriva rise, though prompt to aid my enterprise. E'en now I scarce can urge my friend on whom his house and realm depend, who, after toil and peril past, is happy with his queen at last. Sugriva after rest will know the hour is come to strike the blow, nor will his grateful soul forget my succor, or deny the debt I know his generous heart, and hence await the time with confidence when he his friendly zeal will show, and brooks again untroubled flow. 629. Canto 29. Hanuman's Counsel. No flash of lightning lit the sky, no cloudlet marred the blue on high. The Saras, 630, missed the welcome rain, the moon's full beams were bright again. Sugriva, lapped in bliss, forgot the claims of faith, or heeded not, and by alluring joys misled the path of falsehood learned to tread. In careless ease he passed each hour, and dallied in his lady's bower. Each longing of his heart was stilled, and every lofty hope fulfilled. With royal Ruma by his side, or Tara yet a dearer bride, he spent each joyous day and night in revelry and wild delight, like Indra whom the nymphs enticed to taste the joys of paradise. The power to courtiers' hands resigned, to all their acts his eyes were blind. All doubt, all fear he cast aside, and lived with pleasure for his guide. But sage Hanuman, firm and true, whose heart the lore of scripture knew, well trained to meet occasion, trained in all by duty's law ordained, strove with his prudent speech to find soft access to the monarch's mind. He, skilled in every gentle art of eloquence that wins the heart, Sugriva from his trance to wake, his salutary counsel spake. The realm is won, thy name advanced, the glory of thy house enhanced, and now thy foremost care should be to aid the friends who succored thee. He who is firm and faithful found to friendly ties and honor bound, will see his name and fame increase, and his blessed kingdom thrive in peace. Wide sway is his who truly boasts that friends and treasure, self and hosts, all blent in one harmonious whole, are subject to his firm control. Do thou, whose footsteps never stray from the clear bounds of duty's way, assist, as honor bids thee, now thy friends, observant of thy vow. For if all cares we lay not by, and to our friends' assistance fly, we, after, toil in idle haste, and all the late endeavor waste. Up, nor the promised help delay, until the hour have slipped away. Up, and with Raghu's son, renew the search for Sítá lost to view. The hour is come. He hears the call, but not on the reproaches fall from him who labors to repress his eager spirit's restlessness. Long joined to thee in friendly ties, he made thy fame and fortune rise in gentle gifts, by none excelled. In splendid might unparalleled. Up to his succor, king. Repay the favor of that prosperous day, and to thy bravest captains send prompt mandates to assist thy friend. The cry for help thou wilt not spurn, although no grace demands return. And wilt thou not thine aid afford to him who realm and life restored? Exert thy power, and thou hast won the love of Dasaratha's son, and wilt thou for his summons wait, and till he call thee hesitate? Think not the hero needs thy power to save him in the desperate hour. He, with his arrows, could subdue the gods and all the demon crew, and only waits that he may see redeemed the promise made by thee. For thee he risked his life and fought, for thee that great deliverance wrought. Then let us trace through earth, and skies his lady wheresoe'er she lies. Through realms above, beneath we flee, and plant our footsteps on the sea. Then why, O Lord of Vanners, still delay us waiting for thy will? Give thy commands, O King, and say what task has each and where the way. Before the myriad Vanners stand to sweep through heaven, o'er seas and land. Sugriva heard the timely rede that roused him in the day of need, and thus to Nila prompt and brave his hest the imperial Vanner gave. Go, Nila, to the distant hosts that keep in arms their several posts, and all the armies that protect the quarters, 631, with their chiefs, collect. To all the luminaries placed in intermediate regions haste, and bid each captain rise, and lead his squadrons to their king with speed. Do thou meanwhile, with strictest care all that the time requires prepare. The loitering Vanner who delays to gather here ere thrice 5 days, shall surely die for his offense, condemned for sinful negligence. Canto 30. Rama's Lament. But Rama in the autumn night stood musing on the mountain height, while grief and love that scorned control shook with wild storms the hero's soul. Clear was the sky, without a cloud the glory of the moon to shroud. And bright with purest silver shone each hill the soft beams looked upon. He knew Sugriva's heart was bent on pleasure, gay and negligent. He thought on Janak's child forlorn, from his fond arms forever torn. He mourned occasion slipping by, and faint with anguish heaved each sigh. He sat where many a varied streak of rich ore marked the mountain peak. He raised his eyes the sky to view, and to his love his sad thoughts flew. He heard the Sara's cry, and faint with sorrow poured his love-born plaint. She who mocked the softest tone of wild birds' voices with her own. Where strays she now, my love who played so happy in our hermit shade? How can my absent love behold the bright trees with their flowers of gold, and all their gleaming glory see with eyes that vainly look for me? How is it with my darling, when from the deep tangles of the glen float carols of each bird elate with rapture singing to his mate. In vain my weary glances rove from lake to hill, from stream to grove. Find no rapture in the scene, and languish for my fawn-eyed queen. Ah, does strong love with wild unrest, born of the autumn, stir her breast? And does the gentle lady pine, till her bright eyes shall look in mine? Thus Raghu's son in piteous tone, o'erwhelmed with sorrow, made his moan. E'en as the bird that drinks the rains, 632, to Indra thousand-eyed complains. Then Lakshman, a letter 1E47, who had wandered through the copses, where the berries grew returning to the cavern, found his brother chief in sorrow drowned, and pitying the woes that broke the spirit of the hero spoke. Why cast thy strength of soul away, and weakly yield to passion's sway? Arise, my brother, do and dare ere action perish in despair. Recall the firmness of thy heart, and nerve thee for a hero's part. Whose is the hand unscathed, to seize the red flame quickened by the breeze? Where is the foe will dare to wrong or keep the Maithil lady long? Then with pale lips that sorrow dried the son of Raghu thus replied. Lord Indra thousand-eyed has sent the sweet rain from the firmament, sees the rich promise of the grain, and turns him to his rest again. The clouds with voices loud and deep, veiling each tree upon the steep, up on the thirsty earth have shed their precious burden and are fled. Now in kings, heart's ambition glows, they rush to battle with their foes. 633, but in Sugriva's sloth I see no care for deeds of chivalry. See Lakshman, a letter 1E47. On each breezy height 1,000 autumn blooms are bright. See how the wings of wild swans gleam on every islet of the stream. 4 months of flood and rain are past. 100 years they seem to last to me whom toil and trouble tried, my Sítá severed from my side. She, gentlest woman, weak and young, still to her lord unwearied clung. Still by the exile's side, she stood in the wild ways of a letter 1E47 letter 1E0 a K wood, like a fond bird disconsolate if parted from her darling mate. Sugriva, lapped in soft repose, untouched by pity for my woes, scorns the poor exile, dispossessed. By Rav, a letter 1E47's mightier arm oppressed, the wretch who comes to sue and pray from his lost kingdom far away. Hence falls on me, the vanner's scorn a suitor friendless and forlorn. The time is come. With heedless eye he sees the hour of action fly, unmindful, now his hopes succeed, of promise made in stress of need. Go seek him sunk in bliss and sloth, forgetful of his royal oath, and as mine envoy thus upbraid the monarch for his help delayed. Vile is the wretch who will not pay the favor of an earlier day, hope in the supplicant's breast awakes, and then his plighted promise breaks. Noblest, mid all of women born, who keeps the words his lips have sworn, yea, if those words be good or ill, maintains his faith unbroken still. The thankless who forget to aid the friend who helped them when they prayed, dishonored in their death shall lie, and dogs shall pass their corpses by. Sure thou wouldst see my strained arm hold my bow of battle backed with gold, wouldst gaze upon its awful form like lightning flashing through the storm, and hear the clanging bowstring loud as thunder from a laboring cloud. His valor and his strength I know, but pleasure's sway now sinks them low, with thee, my brother, for ally that strength and valor I defy. He promised, when the rains should end, the succor of his arm to lend. Those months are past, he dares forget, and lapped in pleasure, slumbers yet. No thought disturbs his careless breast for us impatient and distressed, and while we sadly wait and pine, girt by his lords he quaffs the wine. Go, brother, go, his palace seek, and boldly to Sugriva speak, thus give the listless king to know what waits him if my anger glow. Still open, to the gloomy god, lies the sad path that Bali trod. Still to thy plighted word be true, lest thou, O king, that path pursue. I launched the shaft I pointed well, and Bali, only Bali fell. But if from truth thou dare to stray, both thee and thine this hand shall slay. Thus be the Vanner king addressed, then add thyself what seems the best. Canto 31. The Envoy. Thus Rama spoke, and Lakshman, a letter 1E47, then made answer to the Prince of Men. Yea, if the Vanner, undeterred by fear of vengeance, break his word, loss of his royal power ere long shall pay the traitor for the wrong. nor deem I him so void of sense to brave the bitter consequence. But if enslaved to joy he lie, and scorn thy grace with blinded eye, then let him join his brother slain. Unmeet were such a wretch to reign. Quick rises, kindling in my breast, the wrath that will not be repressed, and bids me in my fury slay the breaker of his faith today. Let Bali's son thy consort trace, with bravest chiefs of Vanir race. Thus spoke the hero, and aglow with rage of battle seized his bow. But Rama thus in gentler mood with fitting words his speech renewed. No hero with a soul like thine to paths of sin will e'er incline. He who his angry heart can tame is worthiest of a hero's name. Not thine, my brother, be the part so alien from the tender heart, nor let thy feet by wrath misled forsake the path they loved to tread. From harsh and angry words abstain, with gentle speech a hearing gain, and tax Sugriva with the crime of failing faith and wasted time. Then Lakshman, a letter 1E47, bravest of the brave, obeyed the hest that Rama gave, to whom devoting every thought the Vanir's royal town he sought. As Mandar's mountain heaves on high his curved peak soaring to the sky, so Lakshman, a letter 1E47 showed, his dread bow bent like Indra's, 634 in the firmament. His brother's wrath, his brother's woe inflamed his soul to fiercest glow. The tallest trees to earth were cast as furious on his way he passed, and where he stepped, so fiercely fleet, the stones were shivered by his feet. He reached Kishkindha's city deep, embosomed where the hills were steep, where street and open square were lined with legions of the Vanir kind. Then, as his lips with fury swelled, the lord of Raghu's line beheld a stream of Vanir chiefs outpoured to do obeisance to their lord. But when the mighty prince in view of the thick coming Vanirs drew, they turned them in amaze to seize crags of the rock and giant trees. He saw, and fiercer waxed his ire, as oil lends fury to the fire. Scarce had the Vanir chieftains seen that wrathful eye, that troubled mean fierce as the god, who rules the dead, when turned in wild affright they fled. Speeding in breathless terror, all sought King Sugriva's council hall, and there made known their tale of fear, that Lakshman, a letter 1E47 wild with rage, was near. The king, untroubled by alarms, held Tara in his amorous arms, and in the distant bower with her herd not each clamorous messenger. Then, summoned at the lord's, behest forth from the city portals pressed, each like some elephant or cloud, the Vanirs in a trembling crowd, fierce warriors all with massive jaws and terrors of their tiger claws, some matched 10 elephants, and some 100 strength could overcome. Some chieftains, mightier than the rest, 10 times 100's force possessed. With eyes of fury Lakshman, a letter 1E47 viewed the Vanirs, tree-armed multitude. Thus garrisoned from side to side the city walls assault defied. Beyond the moat that girt the wall advanced the Vanir chiefs, and all upon the plain in firm brigade, impetuous warriors, stood arrayed. Red at the sight flashed Lakshman, a letter 1E47's eyes, his bosom heaved tumultuous sighs, and forth the fire of fury broke like flame that flashes through the smoke. Like some fierce snake the hero stood, his bow recalled the expanded hood, and in his shaft head bright and keen the flickering of its tongue was seen, and in his own all-conquering might the venom of its deadly bite. Prince Angad marked his angry look, and every hope his heart forsook. Then his large eyes with fury red, to Angad Lakshman, a letter 1E47 turned and said, "Go tell the king that Lakshman, a letter 1E47 waits for audience at the city gates, whose heart, O tamer of thy foes, is heavy with his brother's woes. Bid him to Rama's word attend, and ask if he will aid his friend. Go, let the king my message learn, then hither with all speed return." Prince Angad heard and wild with grief cried as he looked upon the chief, "'Tis Lakshman, a letter 1E47's self. Impelled by ire he seeks the city of my sire." At the fierce words and furious look of Raghu's son he quailed and shook. Back through the city gates he sped, and, laden with the tale of dread, sought King Sugriva, filled his ears and Rama's with his doubts and fears. To Rama and the king he bent, and clasped their feet most reverent, clasped the dear feet of Tara, too, and told the startling tale anew. But King Sugriva's ear was dulled by love and wine and languor lulled, nor did the words that Angad spake the slumberer from his trance awake. But soon as Raghu's son came nigh, the startled Vanners raised a cry, and strove to win his grace, while dread each anxious heart disquieted. They saw, and, as they gathered round, rose from the mighty throng a sound like torrents when they downward dash, or thunder with the lightning's flash. The shouting of the Vanners broke Sugriva's slumber, and he woke. Still with the wine his eyes were red, his neck with flowers was garlanded. Roused at the voice of Angad came two Vanner lords of rank and fame, one Yaksha, one Prabhava height, wise counselors of gain and right. They came and raised their voices high, and told that Raghu's son was nigh. Two brothers steadfast in their truth, each glorious in the bloom of youth, worthy of rule, have left the skies, and clothed their forms in men's disguise. One at thy gates, in warlike hands holding his mighty weapon, stands. His message is the charioteer that brings the eager envoy near, urged onward by his bold intent, and by the hest of Rama sent. The gathered Vanners saw and fled, and raised aloud their cry of dread. Son of Queen Tara, Angad ran to parley with the godlike man. Still fiery-eyed with rage and hate stands Lakshman, a letter 1E47 at the city gate, and trembling Vanners scarce can fly scathed by the lightning of his eye. Go with thy son, thy kith and kin, the favor of the prince to win, and bow thy reverent head, that so his fiery wrath may cease to glow. What righteous Rama bids thee, do, and to thy plighted word be true. Canto 32. Hanuman's Counsel. Sugriva heard, and trained and tried in counsel, to his lords replied, no deed of mine, no hasty word the anger of the prince has stirred. But haply some who hate me still, and watch their time to work me ill, have slandered me to Raghu's son, accused of deeds I ne'er have done. Now, O my lords, for you are wise, speak truly what your hearts advise, and, pondering each event, inquire the reason of the prince's ire. No fear have I of Lakshman, a letter 1E47. None, no dread of Raghu's mightier son. But wrath, that fires a friendly breast without due cause, disturbs my rest. With labor light is friendship gained, but with severest toil maintained. And doubt is strong, and faith is weak, and friendship dies when traitors speak. Hence is my troubled bosom, cold with fear of Rama, lofty-souled, for heavy on my spirit weigh his favors I can ne'er repay. He ceased, and Hanuman of all the Vanners in the council hall in wisdom first, and rank, expressed the thoughts that filled his prudent breast. No marvel thou rememberest, yet the service thou shouldst ne'er forget, how the brave prince of Raghu's seed thy days from fear and peril freed, and Bali for thy sake o'erthrew, whom Indra's self might scarce subdue. I doubt not Rama's anger burns for the scant love thy heart returns. For this he sends his brother, him whose glory never waxes dim. Sunk in repose, thy careless eye marks not the seasons as they fly, nor sees that autumn has begun with dark blooms opening to the sun. Clear is the sky, no cloudlet mars the splendor of the shining stars. The balmy air is soft and still, and clear and bright are lake and rill. Thou heedest not with blinded eyes the hour for warlike enterprise. Hence Lakshman, a letter 1E47 hither, comes to break thy slothful trance and bid thee wake. Then monarch, with a patient ear the high-souled Rama's message hear, which, reft of wife and realm and friends, thus by another's mouth he sends. Thou, Vanner king, hast done amiss, and now I see no way but this, before his envoy humbly stand and sue for peace with suppliant hand. High duty bids a courtier seek his master's weal, and freely speak. So by no thought of fear controlled my speech, O king, is free and bold, for Rama, if his anger glow can, with the terrors of his bow this earth with all the gods subdue, Gandharvas, 635, and the demon crew. Unwise to stir his wrathful mood, whose favor must again be wooed. And most of all, unwise for one grateful like thee for service done. Go with thy son and kinsman, bend thy humble head and greet thy friend. And like a fond, obedient spouse, be faithful to thy plighted vows. Canto 33. Lakshman's Entry. Through the fair city Lakshman, a letter 1E47 came, invited in Sugriva's name. Within the gates the guardian bands of Vanners raised their suppliant hands, and in their ordered ranks, amazed, upon the princely hero gazed. They marked each burning breath he drew. The fury of his soul they knew. Their hearts were chilled with sudden fear. They gazed, but dared not venture near. Before his eyes the city, gay with gems and flowery gardens, lay where fane and palace rose on high, and things of beauty charmed the eye. Where trees of every blossom grew yielding their fruit in season due to vanners of celestial seed, who wore each varied form at need, fair-faced and glorious, with the shine of heavenly robes and wreaths divine. Their sandal, aloe, lotus bloomed, and their delicious breath perfumed the city's broad street, redolent of sugary mead, 636 and honey scent. Their many a lofty palace rose like Vindhya or the Lord of Snows, and with sweet murmur sparkling rills leapt lightly down the sheltering hills. On many a glorious palace, raised for prince and noble, 637 LAKSHM a letter 1E47 gazed. Like clouds of paly hue they shone with fragrant wreaths that hung thereon, their wealth of jewels was enshrined, and fairer gems of womankind. There gleamed, of noble height and size, like Indra's mansion in the skies, protected by a crystal fence of rock, the royal residence, with roof and turret high and bright like Mount Kailas's loftiest height. Their blooming trees, Mahendra's gift, high o'er the walls were seen to lift their golden-fruited boughs, that made with leaf and flower delicious shade. He saw a band of vanners wait, wielding their weapons, at the gate where golden portals flashed between celestial garlands red and green. Within Sugriva's fair abode unchecked the mighty hero strode, as when the sun of autumn shrouds his glory in a pile of clouds. Through 7 wide courts he quickly passed, and reached the royal tower at last, where seats were set with couch and bed of gold and silver richly spread. While the young chieftain's feet drew near, the sound of music reached his ear, as the soft breathings of the flute came blending with the voice and lute. Then beauty showed her youth and grace and varied charm of form and face, soft bright-eyed creatures, fair and young, gay garlands round their necks were hung, and greater charms to each were lent by richest dress and ornament. He saw the calm attendants wait about their lord in careless state, heard women's girdles chime in sweet accordance with their tinkling feet. He heard the anklet's silvery sound, he saw the calm that reigned around, and o'er him, as he listened, came a rush of rage, a flood of shame. He drew his bowstring. With the clang from east to west, the welkin rang, then in his modest mood withdrew a little from the lady's view. And sternly silent stood apart, while wrath for Rama filled his heart. Sugriva knew the sounding string, and at the call the Vanner king sprang swiftly from his golden seat, and feared the coming prince to meet. Then with cold lips that terror dried to beauteous Tara thus he cried, "What cause of anger, O my spouse fair with the charm of lovely brows, sets LAKSHM a letter 1E47's gentle breast on fire, and brings him in unwonted ire? Say, canst thou see, O faultless dame, a cause to fill his soul with flame? For there must be a reason when such fury stirs the king of men. Reveal the sin, if sin of mine anger the lord of Raghu's line. Or go thyself, his rage subdue, and with soft words his favor woo. Soon as on thee his eyes are set, his heart this anger will forget, for men like him of lofty mind are never stern with womankind. First let thy gentle speech disarm his fury, and his spirit charm, and I, from fear of peril free, the conqueror of his foes will see." She heard, with faltering steps and slow, with eyes that shone with trembling glow, with gold-girt body gently bent to meet the stranger prince she went. When LAKSHM, a letter 1E47, saw the Vanner queen with tranquil eyes and modest mien, before the dame he bent his head, and anger, at her presence, fled. Made bold by draughts of wine, and cheered by LAKSHM, a letter 1E47's look no more she feared, and in the trust his favor lent she thus addressed him eloquent, "Whence springs thy burning fury? Say, who dares thy will to disobey? Who checks the maddened flames that seize on forests full of withered trees?" Then LAKSHM, a letter 1E47 spoke, her mind to ease, his kind reply in words like these: "Thy lord his days in pleasure spends, heedless of duty and of friends, nor dost thou mark, though fondly true, the evil path his steps pursue. He cares not for affairs of state, nor us forlorn and desolate, but sits a mere spectator still, a sensual slave to pleasure's will. 4 months were fixed, the time agreed when he should help us in our need. But, bound in toils of pleasure fast, he sees not that the months are past. Where beats the heart which draughts of wine to virtue, or to gain incline? Hast thou not heard those draughts destroy virtue and gain, and love and joy? For those who, helped at need, refuse their aid in turn, their virtue lose, and they who scorn a friend disdain a treasure not may buy again. Thy Lord has cast his friend away, nor feared from virtue's path to stray. If this be true, declare, O dame who knowest duty's every claim, what further work remains for us deceived and disappointed thus? She listened, for his words were kind, where virtue showed with gain combined, and thus in turn the prince addressed, as hope was rising in his breast. No time, no cause of wrath I see with those who live and honor thee, and thou shouldst bear without offense thy servant's fitful negligence. I know the seasons glide away, while Rama maddens at delay. I know what deed our thanks has earned. I know that grace should be returned. But still I know, whate'er befall, that conquering love is lord of all. Know where Sugriva's thoughts, possessed by one absorbing passion, rest. But he whom sensual joys debase heeds not the claim of time and place, and sees not with his blinded sight his duty or his gain aright. O pardon him who loves me. Spare the vanner caught in pleasure's snare, and once again let Rama grace with favor him who rules our race. E'en royal saints, whose chief delight was penance and austerest rite, at love's commandment have unbent, beguiled by sweetest blandishment. And know, Sugriva, roused at last, the order to his lords has passed, and long by love and bliss delayed, wakes all on fire your hopes to aid. A countless host his city fills, new gathered from 1,000 hills, impetuous chiefs, who where at need each varied form, his legions lead. Come then, O hero, kept aloof by modest awe, nor fear reproof, a faithful friend untouched by blame may look upon another's dame. He passed within, by Tara pressed, and by his own impatient breast, refulgent there in sun-like sheen Sugriva on his throne was seen. Gay garlands round his neck were twined, and Rama by her lord recline. Canto 34. Lakshman's speech. Sugriva started from his rest, with doubt and terror in his breast. He heard the prince's furious tread, he saw his eyes glow fiercely red. Swift sprang the monarch to his feet, upstarting from his golden seat. Rose Rama and her fellows, too, and closely round Sugriva drew, as round the moon's full glory stand attendant stars in glittering band. Sugriva glanced with reddened eyes, raised his joined hands in suppliant guise, flew to the door, and rooted there stood like the tree that grants each prayer. 638, and L a K S H M a letter 1E47 saw, and fiercely moved, with angry speech the king reproved. Famed is the prince who loves the truth, whose soul is touched with tender ruth, who, liberal, keeps each sense subdued, and pays the debt of gratitude. But all unmeet a king to be. The meanest of the mean is he who basely breaks the promise made to trusting friends who lent him aid. He sins who for a steed has lied, as if 100 steeds had died, or if he lie, a cow to win tenfold as heavy is the sin. But if the lie a man betray, both he and his shall all decay. 639, O Vanner King, the thankless man is worthy of the general ban, who takes assistance of his friends, and in his turn no service lends. This verse of old by Brahma sung, is echoed now by every tongue. Hear what he cried in angry mood, bewailing man's ingratitude, for draughts of wine, for slaughtered cows, for treacherous theft, for broken vows a pardon is ordained, but none for thankless scorn of service done. Ungrateful, Vanner King, art thou, and faithless to thy plighted vow. For Rama brought thee help, and yet thou shunnest to repay the debt, or, grateful, thou hadst surely pressed to aid the hero in his quest. Thou art, in vulgar pleasures drowned, false to thy bond in honor bound. Nor yet has Rama's guileless heart discerned thee for the thing thou art, a snake who holds the frogs that cries and lures fresh victims as it dies. Brave Rama, born for glorious fate, has set thee in thy high estate, and to the Vanners, throne restored, great-souled himself, their mean-souled lord. Now if thy pride disown what he high-thoughted prince has done for thee, struck by his arrows shalt thou fall, and Bali meet in Yama's hall. Still open to the gloomy god lies the sad path thy brother trod. Then to thy plighted word be true, nor let thy steps that path pursue. Methinks the shafts of Rama, shot like thunderbolts, thou heedest not, who canst, absorbed in sensual bliss, thy promise from thy mind dismiss. Canto 35. Tara's speech. He ceased, and Tara starry-eyed thus to the angry prince replied. Not to my lord shouldst thou address a speech so fraught with bitterness, not thus reproached my lord should be, and least of all, O prince, by thee. He is no thankless coward, no with spirit dead to valor, glow. From paths of truth he never strays, nor wanders in forbidden ways. Ne'er will Sugriva's heart forget, by Rama saved, the lasting debt. Still in his grateful breast will live the succor none but he could give. Restored to fame by Rama's grace, to empire o'er the Vanner race, from ceaseless dread and toil set free restored to Rama and to me, by grief and care and exile tried, new to the bliss so long denied. Like Visvamitra once, alas, he marks not how the seasons pass. That saint 10,000 years remained, by sweet Jihra 640 love enchained, and deemed those years that flew away so lightly but a single day. Oh, if those years unheeded flew by him, who times and seasons knew unequaled for his lofty mind, what marvel meaner eyes are blind? Then be not angry, Raghu's son, and let thy brother feel for one who many a weary year has spent stranger to love and blandishment. Let not this wrath thy soul inflame, like some mean wretch unknown to fame, for high and noble hearts like then love mercy, and to ruth incline, calm and deliberate, and slow with anger's raging fire to glow. At length, O righteous prince, relent, nor let my words in vain be spent. This sudden blaze of fury slake, I pray thee for Sugriva's sake. He would renounce at Rama's call Ruma and Angad, me and all who call him lord. His gold and grain, the favor of his friend to gain. His arm shall slay the fiend more base in soul than all his impious race, and happy Rama reunite to Sítá, rival in delight of the triumphant moon, when he rejoins his darling Roh, I letter 1E47 I acute. 641 10 million demons guard the gates of Lanka firmly barred. All hope until that host be slain, to smite the robber king is vain. Nor with Sugriva's aid alone may king and host be overthrown. Thus ere he died, for well he knew spake Bali, and his words are true. I know not what his proofs might be, but speak the words he spake to me. Hence far and wide our lords are sent to raise the mightiest armament, for their return Sugriva waits ere he can sally from his gates. Still is the oath Sugriva swore kept firmly even as before, and the great host this day will be assembled by the king's decree 10,000 troops, who wear the form of monkey and of bear, prepared for thee the war to wage. Then let thy wrath no longer rage. The matrons of the Vanner race see marks of fury in thy face. They see thine eyes like blood are red, and will not yet be comforted. Canto 36. Sugriva's speech. She ceased, and Lakshman, a letter 1E47 gave assent, won by her gentle argument. So Tara's pleading, just and mild, his softening heart had reconciled. His altered mood Sugriva saw, and cast aside the fear, and all like raiment heavy with the rain which on his troubled soul had lain. Then quickly to the ground he threw his flowery garland, bright of hue, which round his royal neck he wore, and sobered was himself once more. Then turning to the princely man in soothing words the king began. My glory, wealth, and royal sway to other hands had passed away, but Rama to my rescue came, and gave me back my power and fame. Lakshman, a letter 1E47, say, whose grateful heart could nurse the hope to pay in part. By service of a life, the deed of Rama sprung of heavenly seed. His foeman Rav, a letter 1E47, shall be slain, and Sítá shall be his again. The hero's side I will not leave, but he the conquest shall achieve. What need of help has he who drew his bow, and one great arrow flew through 7 tall trees, a mountain rent, and cleft the earth with force unspent? What aid needs he who shook his bow? And at the sound the earth below with hill and wood and rooted rock quaked feverous with the thunder shock. Yet all my legions will I bring, and follow close the warrior king marching on his impetuous way fierce Rav, a letter 1E47, and his hosts to slay. If I be guilty of offense, careless through love or negligence, let him his loyal slave forgive, for error cleaves to all who live. Thus King Sugriva, good and brave, in humble words his answer gave. Softened was Lakshman, a letter 1E47's angry mood, who thus his friendly speech renewed. My brother, Vanner King, will see a champion and a friend in thee. So strong art thou, so brave and bold, so pure in thought, so humble-souled, that thou deservest well to reign and all a monarch's bliss to gain. Lend thou my brother aid, and all his foes beneath his arm will fall. Full well the words thou speakest suit a chieftain wise and resolute, with grateful heart that loves the right, and foot that never yields in fight. O come, and my sad brother cheer, who mourns the wife he holds so dear. O pardon, friend, my harsh address, and Rama's frantic bitterness. Canto 37. The gathering. He ceased, and King Sugriva cried to sage Hanuman, 642 by his side. Summon the Vanner legions, those who dwell about the Lord of Snows, those who in Vindhyan groves delight, Kailasa's or Mahendra's height, dwell on the 5 bright peaks, or where Mandar's white summit cleaves the air, wherever they are wandering free in highlands by the western sea, on that east hill whence springs the sun, or where he sinks when day is done. Call the great chiefs whose legions fill the forests of the Lotus Hill, 643, where every one in strength and size with the stupendous Anjan, 644 vies. Call those, with tints of burnished gold, whom Mahasala's caverns hold, those who on Dummer roam, or hide in the wild woods on Meru's side. Call those who, brilliant as the sun on high Mahru letter 1E47 leap and run, quaffing sweet juices that distill from odorous trees upon the hill. Call those whom tranquil haunts delight, where dwell the sage and anchorite in groves that through their wide extent exhale 1,000 blossoms, scent. Send out, from coast to coast assemble all the Vanner host, with force, with words, with gifts of price compel, admonish and entice. Already envoys have been sent to warn them of their lord's intent. Let others urged by thee repeat my mandate that their steps be fleet. Those lords who yielding to the sway of love's delight would fain delay, urge hither with the utmost speed, or with thee to my presence lead, and those who linger to the last until 10 days be come and past, and dare their sovereign to defy, for their offense shall surely die. Thousands, yea millions, shall there be obedient to their king's decree, the lions of the Vanner race. Assembled from each distant place, forth shall they haste like hills in size, or mighty clouds that veil the skies, and swiftly speeding on their way bring all our legions in array. He ceased. The son of Vayu, 645, heard, submissive to his sovereign's word, and sent his rapid envoys forth to east and west and south and north. They bent their airy course afar along the paths of bird and star, and sped through ether farther yet, where VISH letter 1E47 US splendid sphere is set. 646, by sea, on hill, by wood and lake they called to arms for Rama's sake, as each with terror in his breast obeyed his awful king's behest. 3,000,000 Vanners, fierce and strong as Anjan's self, a wondrous throng sped from the spot where Rama still gazed restless from the woody hill. 10,000,000 others, brave and bold, with coats that shone like burning gold, came flying from the mountain crest where sinks the weary sun to rest. Impetuous from the northern skies, where Mount Kailasa's summits rise, 10 millions hasted, hued like manes of lions, ne'er subdued, the dwellers on Himalaya's side, whose food his roots and fruits supplied with rangers of the Vindhyan chain and neighbors of the milky main. 647, some from the palm groves where they fed, some from the woods of beetles sped. In countless numbers, fierce and brave, they came from mountain, lake, and cave. As on their way the Vanners went to rouse each distant armament, they chanced that wondrous tree to view that on Himalaya's summit grew. Of old upon that sacred height was wrought Mahesvar's 648 glorious rite, which every god in heaven beheld, and his glad heart with triumph swelled. There from pure seed at random sown bright plants with luscious fruit had grown, and, sweet as amrit to the taste, the summit of the mountain graced. Who once should eat the virtuous fruit that sprang from so divine a root, when whole revolving moon should be from every pang of hunger free. The Vanners culled the fruit they found ripe on the sacrificial ground, with rare celestial odors sweet, to lay them at Sugriva's feet. Those noble envoys scoured the land to summon every Vanner band, then swiftly homeward, at the head of countless armaments they sped. They gathered by Kishkandha's wall. They thronged Sugriva's palace hall, and, richly laden, bare within that fruit of heavenly origin. Their gifts before their king they spread, and thus in tones of triumph said, "Through every land our way we took to visit hill and wood and brook, and all thy hosts from east to west flock hither at their lord's behest." Sugriva with delighted look the present of his envoys took, then bade them go, with gracious speech rewarding and dismissing each. Canto 38. Sugriva's departure. Thus all the princely Vanners, true to their appointed tasks, withdrew. Sugriva deemed already done the work he planned for Raghu's son. Then Lakshman, a letter 1E47 gently spoke and cheered Sugriva for his valor feared. "Now, chieftain, if thy will be so, forth from Kishkandha let us go." Sugriva's heart swelled high with pride as to the prince he thus replied, "Come, speed we forth without delay. 'Tis mine thy mandate to obey." Sugriva bade the dames adieu, and Tara and the rest withdrew. Then at their chieftains summons came the Vanners first in rank and fame. A trusty brave and reverent band, meet e'en before a queen to stand. They at his call made haste to bring the litter of the glorious king. "Mount, O my friend," Sugriva cried, and straight Sumitra's son complied. Then took by Lakshman, a letter 1E47 side his place the sovereign of the woodland race, appraised by Vanners, fleet and strong, who bore the glittering load along. On high above his royal head a paly canopy was spread, and chowries white in many a hand the forehead of the monarch fanned, and shell and drum and song and shout pealed round him as the king passed out. About the monarch went a throng of Vanner warriors brave and strong, as onward to the mountain shade, where Rama dwelt his way he made. Soon as the lovely spot he viewed where Rama lived in solitude, the Vanner monarch, far enowed, with Lakshman, a letter 1E47, lightly stepped to ground, and to the son of Raghu went joining his raised hands reverent. As their great leader raised his hands, so suppliant stood the Vanner bands. Well pleased the son of Raghu saw those legions, hushed in reverent awe, stand silent like the tranquil floods that raise their hands of lotus buds. But Rama, when the king, to greet his friend, had bowed him at his feet, raised him who ruled the Vanner race, and held him in a close embrace. Then, when his arms he had unknit, besought him by his side to sit, and thus with gentle words the best of men the Vanner king addressed. "The prince who well his days divides, and knows aright the times and tides to follow duty, joy, or gain only he, deserves to reign. But he who wealth and virtue leaves, and every hour to pleasure cleaves, falls from his bliss like him who wakes from slumber on a branch that breaks. True king is he who smites his foes, and favor to his servants shows, and of that fruit makes timely use which virtue, wealth, and joy produce. The hour is come that bids thee rise to aid me in my enterprise. Then call thy nobles to debate, and with their help deliberate." "Lost was my power," the king replied. "All strength had fled, all hope had died. The Vanners owned another lord, but by thy grace was all restored. All this, O conqueror of the foe, to thee in Lakshman, a letter 1E47 aid I owe. And his should be the villain, shame who durst deny the sacred claim. These Vanner chiefs of noblest birth have at my bidding roamed the earth, and brought from distant regions all our legions at their monarch's call, fierce bears with monkey troops combined, and apes of every varied kind terrific in their forms, who dwell in grove and wood and bosky dell the bright Gandharvas, brood, the seed of gods. 649, they change their shapes at need. Each with his legions in array, hither, O prince, they make their way. They come, and tens of millions swell to numbers that no tongue may tell. 650, for their armies will unite with chiefs, Mahendra's peers in might. From Meru and from Vindhya's chain they come like clouds that bring the rain. These round thee to the war will go, to smite to earth thy demon foe, will slay the Rakshas, and restore thy consort when the fight is o'er. Canto 39. The Vanner host. Then Rama, best of all who guide their steps by duty, thus replied, "What marvel if Lord Indra send the kindly rain, O faithful friend? If, thousand-rayed, the god of day, drive every darksome cloud away. Or, rising high, the lord of night flood the broad heaven with silver light. What marvel, king, that one like thee the glory of his friends should be? No marvel, O my lord, that thou hast shown thy noble nature now. Thy heart, Sugriva, well I know, not from thy lips but truth may flow, with thee for friend and champion all my foes beneath my arm will fall. The Rakshas, when my queen he stole, brought sure destruction on his soul, like an Olada. 651, who beguiled Queen Sach called Puloma's child. Yes, near, Sugriva, is the day when I my demon foe shall slay, as conquering Indra in his ire slew Queen Palomi's haughty sire. 652 he ceased. Thick clouds of dust rose high to every quarter of the sky. The very sun grew faint and pale behind the darkly gathering veil. The mighty clouds that hung o'erhead from east to west thick darkness spread, and earth to her foundations shook with hill and forest, lake and brook. Then hidden was the ground beneath fierce warriors armed with fearful teeth, hosts numberless, each lord in size a match for him who rules the skies, from many a sea and distant hill, from rock and river, lake and rill. Some like the morning sun were bright, some, like the moon, were silver white, these green as lotus fibers, those white-coated from their native snows. 653, then Satabali came in view girt by a countless retinue. Like some gold mountain high in air Tara's illustrious sire, 654 was there. There Ruma's father, 655, far renowned, with tens of thousands ranged around. There, tinted like the tender green of lotus filaments, was seen compassed by countless legions, one whose face was as the morning sun, Hanuman's father good and great, Kesari. 656, wisest in debate. There the proud King Gavaksha, feared for his strong warrior arm, appeared. There Dumra, mighty lord, the dread of foes, his Ursine legions led. There Panas, first for warlike fame, with 20 million warriors came. There glorious Nila, dark of hue, arrayed his countless troops in view. There moved Lord Gavia brave and bold, resplendent like a hill of gold, and near him Daramaka stood with millions from the hill and wood and Dwivid famed for strength and speed, and Mamda, both of a Svin seed. There Gaja, strong and glorious, led the countless troops around him spread, and Jambavan, 657, the king whose sway the bears delighted to obey, with swarming myriads onward pressed true to his lord Sugriva's hest, and princely Ruman, dear to fame, led millions whom no hosts could tame, all these and many a chief beside, 658, came onward fierce in warlike pride. They covered all the plain, and still pressed forward over wood and hill. In rows for many a league around they rested on the grassy ground, or to Sugriva made their way, like clouds about the lord of day. And to the king, their proud heads bent in power and might preeminent. Sugriva then to Rama sped, and raised his reverent hands, and said that every chief from coast to coast was present with his warrior host. Canto 40. The Army of the East. With practiced eye the king reviewed the Vanners, countless multitude, and, joying that his hest was done, thus spake to Raghu's mighty son. See, all the Vanner hosts who fear my sovereign might are gathered here. Chief strong as Indra's self, whose speed were, they list, these armies lead. Fierce and terrific to the view as Daidia's or the Danav. 659, crew, famed in all lands for souls afire with lofty thoughts. They never tire, o'er hill and vale they wander free, and islets of the distant sea. And these gathered myriads, all will serve thee, Rama, at thy call. Whate'er thy heart advises, say, thy mandates will the host obey. Then answered Rama, as he pressed the Vanner monarch to his breast. O search for my lost Sítá, strive to find her if she still survive, and in thy wondrous wisdom trace fierce Rav, a letter 1E47 to his dwelling place. And when by toil and search we know where Sítá lies, and where the foe, with thee, dear friend, will I devise fit means to end the enterprise. Not mine, not LAKSHM, a letter 1E47S, is the power to guide us in the doubtful hour. Thou, sovereign of the Vanners, thou must be our hope and leader now. He ceased. At King Sugriva's call near came a Vanner strong and tall. Huge as a towering mountain, loud as some tremendous thunder cloud, a prince who warlike legions led, to him his sovereign turned and said, Go, take 10,000, 660 of our race well trained in lore of time and place, and search the eastern region, through groves, woods, and hills thy way pursue. There seek for Sítá, trace the spot where Rav a letter 1E47 hides, and weary not. Search for the captive in the caves of mountains, and by woods and waves. To Sarju, 661 Kaikeyí, 662 repair Bajarath's daughter, 663 fresh and fair. Search mighty Yamans, 664 peak explore swift Yamunas, 665 delightful shore Sarasvati, 666 and Sindhus, 667 tide and rapid Sonas, 668 pebbly side. Then roam afar by Mahais, 669 bed, where Kalamah's groves are spread. Go where the silken tissue shines, go to the land of silver mines. 670, visit each isle and mountain steep and city circled by the deep and distant villages that high about the peaks of Mandar lie. Speed over Yavidwipa's land, 671, and see Mount Sisir, 672, proudly stand uplifting to the skies his head by gods and Danavs visited. Search each ravine and mountain pass, each tangled thicket deep in grass. Search every cave with utmost care, if haply Rama's queen be there. Then pass beyond the sounding sea where heavenly beings wander free, and Sonas, 673, waters swift and strong with ruddy billows foam along. Search where his shelving banks descend, search where the hanging woods extend. Try if the pathless thickets screen the robber and the captive queen. Search where the torrent floods that rend the mountain to the plains descend. Search dark abysses where they rave, search mountain slope and wood, and cave then on with rapid feet, and gain the inlands of the fearful main, where, tortured by the tempests lash against rude rocks the billows dash, an ocean like a sable cloud, whose margent monstrous serpents crowd, an ocean rising with a roar to beat upon an iron shore. Onward still. Your feet shall tread shores of the sea whose waves are red, where spreading wide your eyes shall see the guilt-tormenting cotton tree, 674, and the wild spot where Ru letter 1E0D, 675, dwells which gems adorn an ocean shells, high as Kailasa, nobly decked, wrought by the heavenly architect. 676, huge giants named Mandahas. 677, they're in each foul shape they love to wear, numbing the soul with terror's chill. Hang from the summit of the hill. When darts the sun his earliest beam, they plunge them in the ocean stream, new vigor from his rays obtain, and hang upon the rocks again. Speed onward still. Your steps shall be at length beside the milky sea, whose every ripple as it curls gleams glorious with its wealth of pearls. Amid that sea like pale clouds spread the white Mount Rishab, 678, rears his head. About the mountains' glorious waste woods, redolent of bloom, are braced. A lake where lotuses unfold their silver buds with threads of gold, Sudarshan ever bright and fair where white swans sport, lies gleaming there, the wandering Kinnars. 679 deer resort, where heavenly nymphs and yakshas, 680 sport. On. Leave the milky sea behind. Another flood your search shall find, a waste of waters, wild and drear, that chills each living heart with fear. There see the horse's awful head, wrathborn that flames in ocean's bed. 681, there rises up a fearful cry from the sea things that move thereby, when, helpless, powerless for flight, they gaze upon the horrid sight. Pass to the northern shore, and then beyond the flood 3 leagues and 10 your wondering glances will behold Mount Jatarupa, 682, bright with gold. They're like the young moon pale of hue the monstrous serpent. 683, will ye view, the earth's supporter, whose bright eyes resemble lotus leaves in size. He rests upon the mountain's brow, and all the gods before him bow. Ananta with 1,000 heads, his length in robes of azure spreads. A triple-headed palm of gold, meet standard for the lofty souled, springs towering from the mountain's crest beneath whose shade he loves to rest, so that in eastern realms each god may use it as a measuring rod. Beyond, with burning gold aglow, the eastern steep his peaks will show, which in unrivaled glory rise 100 leagues to pierce the skies, and all the neighboring air is bright with golden trees that clothe the height. A lofty peak uprises there 10 leagues in height, and 1 league square samanas, wrought of glistering gold, ne'er to be loosened from its hold. There his first step, Lord Vish, letter 1E47U placed, when through the universe he paced, and with his second lightly pressed the loftiest peak of Mero's crest. When north of Jambudwip, 684, the sun a portion of his course has run, and hangs above this mountain height, then creatures see the genial light. Vacances, 685, saints far renowned and Balakilias, 686, love the ground where in their glory half divine touched by the morning glow, they shine the light that flashes from that steep illumines all Sudar Sandwip, 687, and on each creature, as it glows, the sight and strength of life bestows. Search well that mountain's woody side, if Rav, a letter 1E47 there, his captive hide. The rising sun, the golden hill the air with growing splendors fill, till flashes from the east the red of morning with the light they shed. This, where the sun begins his state, is earth and heaven's most eastern gate. Through all the mountain forest, seek by waterfall and cave and peak. Search every nook and bosky dell, if Rav, a letter 1E47 there with Sítá dwell. There vanners, there your steps must stay, no farther eastward can ye stray. Beyond no sun, no moon gives light, but all is sunk in endless night. Thus far, O Vanner lords, may you o'er sea and land your search pursue. But wild and dark, and known to none, is the drear space beyond the sun. That mountain whence the sun ascends your long and weary journey ends. 688, now go, and in a month return, and let success my praises earn. He who beyond the month shall stay will with his life the forfeit pay. Canto 41. The Army of the South. He gathered next a chosen band for service in the southern land. He summoned Nila son of fire, and offspring of the eternal sire Jambavan bold and strong and tall, and Hanuman, the best of all, and many a valiant lord beside, 689, with Anged for their chief and guide. Go forth, he cried, with all this host exploring to the southern coast, the 1,000 peaks that Vindhya shows where every tree and creeper grows, where Narmadas, 690, sweet waters run, and serpents bask them in the sun. Where Krish letter 1E47 of VE letter 1E47 I S, 691, currents flee and sparkles fair Godavari. 692 through Mekhul, 693, pass and Utgals, 694, land, go where D a execute R letter 1E47 a S, 695, cities stand. Avanti 696, seek, of high renown and Abravantes, 697, glorious town. Search every hill and brook and cave where D a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a KS woods, their branches wave Iamucks, 698. Woody hill explore whose sides are bright with richest ore, lifting his glorious head on high from bloomy groves that round him lie. Search well his forests, where the breeze blows fragrant from the sandal trees. Then will you see Caveries, 699, stream whose pleasant waters glance and gleam, and to the lovely banks entice the sportive maids of paradise. High on the top of Malayas, 700 hill in holy musing, calm and still, sits, radiant as the Lord of Light, Agastya, 701, noblest anchorite. Soon as that lofty-thoughted Lord his high permission shall accord, pass TAMR a P a R letter 1E47 I S, 702, flood whose isles are loved by basking crocodiles. The sandal woods that fringe her side those islets and her waters hide, while, like an amorous matron, she speeds to her own dear Lord the sea. Thence hasting on your way behold the PA letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, via S, 703, gates of pearl and gold. Then, with your task maturely planned, on ocean's shore your feet will stand. Where, by Agastya's high decree, Mahendra, 704, planted in the sea, with tinted peaks against the tide rises in solitary pride, and glorious in his golden glow spurns back the waves that beat below. Fair mountain, bright with creepers, bloom and every tint that trees assume, where Yaksha, God, and heavenly maid meet wandering in the lovely shade, at changing moon and solemn tide by Indra's presence glorified. 100 leagues in fair extent an island, 705, fronts the continent. No man may tread its glittering shore with utmost heed that I'll explore, for the fair country owns the sway of Rav, a letter 1E47, whom we burn to slay. A mighty monster stands to keep the passage of the southern deep. Lifting her awful arms, on high she grasps e'en shadows as they fly. Speed through that isle, and onward still where in mid see the flowery hill, 706, raises on high his bloomy head by saints and angels visited. There, with 100 gleaming peaks bright as the sun, the sky he seeks, one glorious peak the Lord of day gilds ever with his loving ray. Thereon ne'er yet the glances fell of thankless wretch or infidel. Bow to that hill in reverence due, and then once more your search pursue. Beyond that glorious mountain high, and Surrey of on, 707, proud hill is nigh. Your rapid course yet farther bend where Vaidyuts, 708, airy peaks ascend. Their trees of noblest sort, profuse of wealth, their kindly gifts produce. Their precious fruits, O Vanners, taste, the honey sip and onward haste. Next will ye see Mount Kunjar rise, who cheers with beauty hearts and eyes. There is Agastya's, 709 mansion, decked by heaven's all-molding architect. Near Bhagavati, 710, stands the place where dwell the hosts of serpent race, a broad-wayed city, walled and barred, which watchful legions keep and guard. The fiercest of the serpent youth, each awful for his venomed tooth, enthroned in his imperial hall is Vasuki, 711, who rules them all. Explore the serpent city well, search town and tower and citadel, and scan each field and wood that lies around it, with your watchful eyes. Beyond that spot your way pursue. A noble mountain shall ye view, named Rishab, like a mighty bull, with gems made bright and beautiful. All trees of sandal flourish there of heavenly fragrance, rich and rare. But though they tempt your longing eyes, avoid to touch them and be wise. For Rohitas, a guardian band of fierce Gandharvas, round them stand, who 5 bright sovereign lords, 712, obey, in glory like the god of day. Here by good deeds a home is one with shapes like fire, the moon, the sun. Here they who merit heaven, by worth dwell on the confines of the earth. Their stay, beyond it dark and drear, lies the departed spirit's sphere, and girt with darkness far from bliss is Yama's sad metropolis. 713, so far, my lords, o'er land and see your destined course is plain and free. Beyond your steps you may not set, where living thing ne'er journeyed yet. With utmost care these realms survey, and all you meet upon the way. And when the lady's course is traced, back to your king, O Vanners, haste. And he who tells me he has seen. After long search, the Maithil queen shall gain a noble guerdon. He in power and bliss shall equal me. Dear as my very life, above his fellows in his master's love, I call him, yea though stained with crime. My kinsman from that happy time,